Hello YouTube. Today we're going to be installing a Predator search and rescue winch bumper onto the back of this 2000 H1 soft top. We will be removing the stock bumper, the license plate bracket, stock shackles, trailer hitch, and also this 2-inch filler plate that Predator installed during the Duramax conversion. I like theirs because they do it in-house and it's a one-piece design rather than having that seam up the middle, but all that's going to go away. And what's nice about the Predator bumpers is they give you options on the back for mounting different heights. So if you have stock height or a 2-inch body lift or maybe even 4, I'm not sure how these are going to line up yet. So you can get that bumper right where it needs to go. Now Predator makes an awesome product. This bumper weighs over 200 pounds by itself, and it's all 1/4-inch plate steel. It is very well built, has a really nice finish on it, and they're easy to install until you go to put a winch in it. Now once you put a winch in it, this thing gets so much more difficult to install. I did the Predator bumper on the front, and I used the Smittybilt XRC winch up here also, and it's a Gen 3 12K, and it was so much work to put a winch inside this thing. And then you have to figure out where you're going to put your control box. Up here for the handle, the neutral lever, I had to notch the top plate quite a bit. I had to machine all this out to get this to be able to rotate. And the control box, I don't know if you can see this or not, but up under the frame, that went inside the frame behind those aluminum brackets. Just that cavity right there was the only spot to mount this thing. I didn't want to try to extend the cables and go up into the engine compartment or anything. There's just not a lot of room to get these bumpers on when there's a winch installed. Also more difficult is there's 2 bolts that go through the frame. They go from the inside out. You can't turn them around, and you have to put the winch into the bumper before you put the bumper on. And once you do that, it is so hard to get those bolts to go in from this direction because the winch casing is in the way. So once you get it up in there, you have to unbolt the winch, try to get it off to the side, get the bolts in, move it to the other side, get the other side done, put the winch back in, tighten it down. It's a lot of work. So this one, I think they set these bumpers up for the Sherpa winches, which is an Australian-made winch. It's an excellent product. They have high capacities. They are in a smaller package, but they have a really big price tag also. And when you buy this bumper, it comes with this aluminum plate that bolts to the top using these, there's 6 holes that they have nuts welded on the back side where it bolts down. And they give you these pre-drilled holes which line up with these slots right here. Unfortunately, I'm not using the winch that I think they designed it for, so I had to use these bolts right here. So now I have these bolts that stick up, but I have no holes in the plate to clear this plate. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to be remaking this 1/4-inch plate out of 1/2 inch, and then I'm going to counterbore where these bolts are, and so when it's all done it won't have any hardware showing from the top. And I'll take it down and do like a Line-X or Iniotti coating on this and give a nice little tread plate that will bolt onto the top of this thing when it's finished. On this one I was able to mount the controller down inside the frame. I made this aluminum bracket right here. It bolted on 2 places here. And the same thing, I'll clear that aluminum plate out so it fits right over the top of this. And this fit in here real nice. I'm going to have to loosen up to get the bolts in once I install it. And then Smittybilt does not make a connector extension plug for anything you can mount. So I had to take it all apart, rewire it, put these connectors in. And Predator gives you a location here to put your winch controller, but the one that comes on the one that comes with the winch that I had to take out of the control box, it's not really waterproof. So I ended up taking this mil-spec connector right here and modifying it. I took all the pins and everything out of it, and I made an insert for it. And this will go on the front of the bumper, and it gives you a weather-tight cap. And it allows you to put your, it's like an XLR type connector that goes inside there for your winch controller to hook up, which is actually this one right here. So, and I couldn't do these all on one connector because they have to feed up through this hole. So I couldn't use like a 6-pin connector. These have to go through one at a time, and so that's going to work. So what that looks like on the front of this bumper is it gives it kind of a little military look, and it gives you a nice seal inside. Got a silicone seal inside there that keeps all the weather out, and kind of a nice detail to finish it off. But a lot of extra wiring to make that work. So I also opted to go with custom made D-rings, and I'm using the Agency 6 Fairlead, and gonna go with the Factor 55 Ultra Hook and the synthetic rope. And this is probably the most elaborate license plate frame ever made, and we'll get into that later. Now, the 5-foot cables that come out of the winch are obviously not going to reach all the way up to the front of the vehicle. So what I made up was this little junction box right here. I'll mount this up under the frame somewhere, and just depending on how far the wires go, and then these will come in and they'll bolt down on one side, and then I can get another set of cables that comes off this side, and this will go all the way up to the batteries up front. So this will be something that's easy to get to in case I got to work on it. You're not going to be able to get to this winch once it's installed. And again, with the I think when they set it up for the Sherpa winch fits inside completely. This Smittybilt kind of sticks out of the back a little bit, a couple inches, but I think there's enough clearance between this and the fuel tank to where it's going to fit. And also had to make new brackets to go across the winch on both sides because it wasn't going to fit inside there with the factory arms that went across. And then you've got all your connections on the back here, which they should clear, and once I start bolting this thing up. Okay, so now the next step is to get all this stock stuff peeled off, and once we get everything unbolted, we'll see what it looks like, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we got everything peeled off the back of this truck. Everything came off real nice. It looks pretty clean. If you're going to do one of these bumpers, you need to loosen up this trailer connector because it won't be long enough to reach to the outside of the bumper. So I took a couple of P-clamps off inside there, and that'll pull through real nice. I've got the wire here for the license plate light. I need to cut that, and I'll wait till the bumper's in because I don't know how far it's got to go, so I'll put an extension on that. And all in all, looks pretty good. And that stock bumper is way heavier than you think it is. I mean, that thing weighs a ton. And if you're going to try to do something like this without an impact, I suggest against it. There are a lot of bolts that make this thing go. So all the brackets are off, license plate light, all the trailer connectors. I got that 2-inch rail off for the filler panel for the body lift. So everything's gone, and this thing will probably end up on eBay or something because I no longer want to trip over this thing having it sitting around here. So anyway, I got everything off. You know, it's 2 days before Christmas here in Phoenix, and I am actually burning up out here. It's pretty warm, so I think I've had enough for one day. So we'll continue this later. We'll get ready to fit this bumper and get it bolted up and start doing all the final connections on it. And we'll see what it looks like when I get that far. Okay, I got this bumper all bolted up and all the bolts are tight. Unfortunately, I had to loosen the winch and I had to move it to the side, and then I had to pull this control box out. I've got a bracket that goes inside and bolts to the back of this, and then it bolts down right here. There's no way you're going to get to these bolts that are back up in here if you've got this control box in the way. I couldn't get the control box out unless I loosened the winch and slid the winch to the left. So while I had it ready to go in, I went ahead and started my my rope here, my synthetic rope. If you wait until afterwards, you're not going to be able to get your hands up inside this thing to bolt this rope onto your spool. So all in all, it went pretty well. The bolts are fairly easy to get to, and you know, the sheet that comes with this bumper says to invite 5 of your friends over to help hold this bumper up while you start the bolts. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Get one of these hydraulic carts from Harbor Freight. They're like $350 for the 1,000-pound capacity one. I don't buy a lot of Harbor Freight tools, but this thing is priceless. This worked in for putting on my gear hubs. I have a fixture that bolts to it. It worked for putting my fuel tank in. It worked for putting my front bumper on. I mean, it's a really handy cart to have around, and you can bring it up to work table height if you need some extra space. So that thing is, it's turned out to be priceless. And besides, all my friends are married, and this being Christmas Eve, I'm sure they're standing at the entrance to the mall with that deer in the headlight look in their eyes, you know, wondering what they're going to buy their wives for Christmas. You know the look, right? So anyway, we're going to go ahead and put the control box back in, and then we're going to bolt the winch down. I still need to run the wire for the license plate. That's going to be pretty easy. The muffler bracket went back in, the factory one. So pretty nice, but you got to turn it over. But and they only give you one hole to bolt it down for the location. So there is a possibility that this thing could spin, so or rotate a little bit. But it went together pretty nice, and this wire here will get up inside, and I will run it along the factory harness and bring it into the back of the bumper. So we'll get all that done, and then we'll see what else we got to do. Okay, I pretty much got this thing wrapped up. Just a few more things to do. So everything's bolted up. It's tight. Everything's wired. I got the factory trailer connector back in. I got the winch receptacle inside this military cannon plug that I modified. I had plenty of room for the trailer connector to come through. Once I loosen up the harness underneath, the controller's back inside, the winch is bolted back in, and everything looks good. I was able to run my license plate light to a connector up inside here, so it'll be able to plug in real easy. And for now, what I did is I just took my extra cables that came out of the winch, and I just ran jumper cables all the way up to the front to coil up that synthetic rope on that spool. And ultimately, I will probably just cut the ends off those cables and put lugs on them and use those for my cables that run up to the front. And the only thing we have left really, and I want to talk about this real quick, is probably the most overkill of a license plate bracket ever made. So I made it out of 1/4-inch aluminum. I got this this light that I found on Amazon. I don't have a lot of faith in it. It's really nice and bright, lights up the license plate just great. But I got 12 of these for $12, so I'm not putting a lot of weight into it. And I ended up running the wires down through inside, and came out the back and did like a little strain relief here. And here's my mating connector. Now what's cool about this license plate bracket is I didn't want to drill holes in my $3,000 bumper. So I bought these really powerful screw-in magnets. They screwed into the plate. They have Teflon coatings on them so they won't scratch. And these are rated at 75-pound pull per magnet, so that's quite a bit. This bracket right here is designed to go inside the hole where you reach in and disengage. So this snaps right up inside there, and it being a nice fit in there, it keeps this from rotating, but the magnets won't pull out. I need to get something behind it and actually wedge this thing off in order to get it to break free of the magnetic hold. But with that plate back there, it also won't rotate either. And if I hit a big bump or something, magnets will slide. But with this one, it's never going to move. And if I need to get in here to my winch controller or my a transmission switch, then this will just pull off. I can unplug it if I need to. And so I just got to pop that on and connect the wire inside there, and lots of room. Put the license plate on. And then the last thing to do is mount those cables up under the frame. We'll probably finish that up here before too long, and I don't know where they're going to end up yet. And then just get this aluminum plate remade out of 1/2 inch, and then counterbore those holes, get the Inyati coating on it, and I may do a video for that included in this one. I don't know yet, but that's it for now. I'm pretty happy with it. And if you put one of these on and you ever have to service the winch, the bumper's got to come off. Unfortunately, there is no way to get in there to do anything. So nice bumper, nice feature having a rear winch on the truck, but something fails, yeah, you get to reverse everything that you did. Okay, so if I was going to keep this 1/4-inch plate that the bumper came with, this is what it would look like. I would have the 4 original holes that came in the bumper made for a different type of winch, and then I would have the 4 holes that I had to drill into it to clear the bolts for the winch that I put in, and there's also these 2 holes that hold the controller in place, and then the outer bolts are just to bolt it down. So instead of using this plate, what I made was this one out a 1/2 inch. So twice as thick, and the holes are counterbored to clear all the bolt heads for the winch and for the controller. And if you flip it over, it's nice and clean on the top, and you have nothing showing on the top side. So let me pop this one off real quick. I'm going to set the camera down here, and we'll see what that one looks like when it goes on. And that is beautiful. So it's a lot meatier look, and all you have showing is the 6 bolts that will hold it down, and you have a nice clean surface here, and it won't look like Swiss cheese. So tomorrow this goes down to Line-X to get coated, and hopefully that only takes a few days. So the last thing I have to do is land those winch power cables up underneath, and we'll come back when I get that far. And we are at the end of this project. So it's all finished, folks. The guys at the spray and bed liner place did a fantastic job on this plate. It's got a real nice texture finish on it, just like a spray and bed liner, non-slip. It looks uniform. It doesn't have a bunch of extra holes in the middle where the winch mounting bolts go. They coated both sides of this and all the way around. And I opted to go with black oxide stainless buttonhead cap screws instead of the silver ones that the bumper came with. I don't like stainless hardware to begin with. It's not that strong, but this plate is more cosmetic than it is structural, so these will be fine up here. I got the license plate bracket put in. It's all wired up, and if I ever had to get to my winch transmission lever, all I have to do is just pull this off. But this is 300 pounds of magnetic force among these 4 magnets, so I literally have to get some kind of a wooden block back in here or something to get this off. I can't pull this off by hand. It's just, there's just too much hold there. So that's good. It won't fall off going down the road. But everything's done. Cables are mounted up underneath. I just got to run the rest of my battery cables up to the front. That's another weekend. But really happy with it. Glad it's over. Glad it's on. And on to the next project. Thanks for watching.